If the recent investigation into strawberries introduced you to the term PFAS for the first time, you are in good company. The phrase "forever chemicals" has suddenly appeared in almost every headline, usually followed by words like cancer-linked or contamination. However, there is rarely a clear explanation of what these substances actually are, or how they are impacting your internal biology on a daily basis. The truth is far more complicated and widespread than a single story about strawberries suggests. Understanding the reality of PFAS is not about giving in to fear, but about learning where these chemicals hide and how you can realistically reduce your exposure to protect your long-term vitality. PFAS stands for per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, which are a diverse group of thousands of human-made chemical pollutants. The forever chemicals nickname comes from their unique chemical structure. PFAS are built on extremely strong molecular bonds that allow them to resist breaking down in the natural environment. Because of this resilience, they have spread comprehensively across the globe and are now routinely detected in our water, soil, wildlife, and even human tissue. These chemicals were originally designed to make consumer goods resistant to water, stains, and grease. While they provided convenience for decades, we are now learning that they are toxic at extremely low levels, often measured in parts per trillion. The recent story regarding strawberries is just one small data point in a much larger and more concerning picture. A 2026 analysis of state testing data revealed that PFAS pesticide residues were found in 37% of conventional produce samples tested. This covered 78 different types of fruits and vegetables. Certain fruits showed especially high levels of contamination. For example, more than 90% of nectarines, plums, and peaches contained a PFAS pesticide called fludioxonil, which is a fungicide used to prevent mold during shipping. Cherries and grapes also showed PFAS residues in 80% or more of the samples tested. It is becoming clear that our conventional food system has integrated these forever chemicals at a fundamental level. However, it is not just produce that we need to worry about. Drinking water remains a substantial route of exposure for millions of people, as these chemicals leach from industrial sites into local waterways. Food packaging is another major source of concern. Historically, fast food wrappers, pizza boxes, and microwave popcorn bags used grease-resistant paper that contained high levels of PFAS. While the FDA has made progress in phasing out some of these grease-proofing agents, many products already in circulation remain a risk. Even your kitchen cabinets might hold a source of exposure. Older non-stick cookware, especially pans with scratched or degraded coatings, can release these chemicals directly into the food you are preparing for your family. When we look at the health research, it is important to be precise rather than just alarming. A growing number of epidemiological studies have documented significant health risks associated with PFAS exposure. These chemicals have been linked to an increased risk of kidney and testicular cancers, reduced immune function, and severe hormone disruption. They can also lead to liver and thyroid problems, reproductive harm, and abnormal fetal development. One of the most striking recent discoveries is that the PFAS found in the bodies of most Americans have been linked to rapid biological aging. Emerging research suggests that certain PFAS compounds can actually amplify epigenetic aging, making your cells appear and function as if they are much older than your chronological age. While these risks are documented, we must note an important caveat. Most of the strongest health associations come from studies of people with significantly higher levels of exposure than what is typically found in a single strawberry. Frequent exposure happens in communities near industrial sites or contaminated water supplies. The science regarding what low-level, cumulative dietary exposure means for health over a lifetime is still developing. However, the economic impact is already being felt. The annual cost of PFAS-attributable diseases in the United States is estimated to be at least $5.5 billion and could be as high as $62 billion. This massive range reflects the uncertainty that still exists in the research, even as the evidence of harm grows. For parents, the perspective on children is particularly vital. Children are far more vulnerable to chemical disruption because their systems are still developing. They also eat more food relative to their body weight than adults do, which means their concentration of exposure can be higher. The EPA has reported that exposure to PFAS can lead to developmental delays, low birth weight, and even accelerated puberty in children. Furthermore, children have many more years of cumulative exposure ahead of them than adults do. This makes the precautionary case for reducing their exposure much stronger. Protecting the next generation from these persistent pollutants is a priority for many researchers in the field of public health. The goal for the average person should be reduction, not complete elimination. Because PFAS are so widespread in our modern environment, reaching a state of zero exposure is unfortunately not a realistic target. Instead, you should focus your energy on the areas where you have the most control. On the produce front, buying organic is the most direct way to intervene. Organic certification prohibits the use of PFAS-linked pesticides, which is why organic versions of strawberries and other common fruits often test completely clean. If you cannot buy everything organic, you should refer to the EWG Clean 15, which identifies conventional produce that typically shows no detectable PFAS, such as sweet potatoes, cauliflower, mushrooms, and avocados. In the kitchen, the most effective move you can make is to replace any non-stick pans that have scratched or degraded coatings. Switching to stainless steel, cast iron, or ceramic alternatives can eliminate this specific exposure route entirely. When it comes to food packaging, choosing fresh whole foods over prepackaged items is a major step forward. Reducing your intake of fast food can also help, as the wrappers and boxes are designed to absorb grease using these chemical agents. When you are storing leftovers, try to use glass containers rather than plastic to avoid any potential chemical leaching during reheating. Finally, we must consider our water. It is worth checking your local water quality report to see if there is known contamination in your area. If there is, consider investing in a water filter that is specifically certified to remove PFAS. The EPA provides online tools to help you check local levels and understand the quality of the water coming into your home. These small, consistent habits are what build a wall of protection around your family's health. You do not have to overhaul your entire life overnight, but making strategic choices about your cookware and your grocery list can significantly lower your body's total chemical burden over time. The story of forever chemicals is still being written by modern science. As we uncover more about how these substances influence our epigenetic clock and our immune resilience, the importance of our daily choices becomes even clearer. We are living in a world where convenience has often come at the cost of long-term biological safety. But we now have the information needed to navigate this landscape more wisely. Taking control of your internal chemistry starts with understanding the hidden signals in your environment. We are committed to bringing you the most accurate and investigative health news as it unfolds. Staying informed is your best defense against the invisible pollutants of the modern world. There is a vast ocean of information to explore when it comes to the intersection of technology, food, and human longevity, and we are just scratching the surface. To ensure you stay ahead of these global health trends and learn how to master your own vitality, you should stay tuned for what we reveal next. Some of the most significant insights into our biology are only just beginning to emerge, and you definitely do not want to be left behind as the science of wellness continues to evolve. Keep a close watch on our updates for the next big revelation in the